So just to introduce myself with my other hat, I'm Scott Basin. I'm part of the Taupo Alpine Sports Trust, which comprises of myself, Rob Marshall, David Brown, Clayton Stent and Leanne Hall. I haven't put any of this in the presentation because we presented last year with a whole lot more detail about who we are and what we do. So what I've done in this presentation is to keep it short and sweet as to where we are, where we're at and what we need to do next. So So the Taupo IQ, just to refresh your memories, is a proposed community facility that would provide an international size ice rink, 10-pin bowling, rock climbing and a curling rink. Those are the key parts of the facility that we see as being crucial to its long-term success and to meeting the needs of the community. So in terms of how that would happen, we consider that the facility could be built in staged construction periods. So it could start with just an ice rink, and the design of the building will lend itself, depending on funding, to the addition of 10-pin bowling, dinner track, climbing walls and curling rink. The climbing wall, in some tentative discussions with council, may be one that can be relocated from AC bars, which may also provide a solution to some of the issues that are at the centre there. So in terms of an ice rink, what we could provide with that is obviously public sessions, learn to skate, ice hockey, figure skating, 10-pin bowling. You're all aware of the demise of the previous 10-pin bowling in town here. It was popular then. We believe it will be popular again in the future. Business house, leagues, club bowling, that sort of thing as well. Climbing wall, as I said, could well be a solution to finding more space at the OC Baths. The curling rink, some of you may or may not know what curling is. It's probably the most fun I've ever had wearing my normal clothes, to be honest with you. We went to, along with Councillor Hickling, we went to Naseby in the South Island, population 120, which has an international curling rink and is booked 6 months in advance for people to play it there. The four of us hopped on the ice, threw a few stones around, had a couple of whiskies. It was a great time for all. So where are we at? In 2010, we identified a piece of land and got agreement from the council to lease that piece of land. It is opposite Owen Delaney Park, on the large piece of land bordered by the golf club and the ETA. We completed a survey of all of the Taupo schools from primary to college, which I'll go into the results of in a minute. And we made a presentation to the council in July of last year where we gave you a whole lot more detail and answered a whole lot more questions about what it was and what could happen. The crucial thing in terms of the school survey results, which was our way of figuring out whether the community really wanted it, was that we sent out approximately 4,400 surveys to all the schools in the region. We received back 1,233 surveys, which was a response of 28%, which I'm led to believe is quite high for that sort of survey. And in terms of finding out how many people were in each family for each survey, that represented 5,627 people in this community. They were asked, and there should be a copy attached to your handout there, but I've got some more, but they were asked, do you support the construction of an ice rink in Taupo? 96.5% said yes, 2.5% said no, and about 1% weren't sure. The other interesting thing that came from the survey was we asked people who wanted to be informed if they wanted to give us their email addresses or contact, and 42% of those who sent forms back said they wanted to be kept informed, which once again is a very high response rate as far as we can tell. So, the next steps, and I'll be brutally blunt about it, the next steps are that we need to complete a feasibility study, a QS report to document the exact building costs, and an economic impact assessment. And for that, we need $30,000. That's really what it comes down to. Once we've got that, we can include that study into the LTP. We can then come back to this council and talk about what happens next. And we discussed, I think, at the last presentation, the fact that for us to gain access to significant government money, we need a commitment from the local council. And what I'm suggesting there is something along the region of $1 million would get us $9 or $10 million from the government. So at that point, we would then make funding applications to the range of government bodies, lotteries, agencies and trusts. I said I'd be blunt, so I was blunt about it. And I certainly appreciate where the council's financials are at. So this is not particularly a decision for immediately, but in terms of the $30,000 to complete a study, that is something that we really need to actually go ahead. That's the end of it. I'm short and sweet. I said I'd be short and sweet. I'm open to any questions you've got about it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Basin. Yes, last year you did give a very comprehensive report, and this is a great small mini overview. We have it has been talked about in the media and here and there, and Councillor Hickling was certainly involved in the last triennium of doing an initial studies along with your people on your trust. And firstly, I'd like to thank the people on the trust that you mentioned before. They have done a lot of work. I personally think it's a fantastic idea, dream, vision. I also did bring it up in Parliament 2 weeks ago when I was down there. They are receptive to listening. They always say they have no money. We haven't either, but they are receptive and they're listening because they see that it's a great thing, and it could be a good thing for the centre of the North. It could be an absolutely great thing. Well, I think it would be for Taupo, for our visitors and what have you. But this was really just asked you to come along to give information to the councillors. I will open it up and ask them if they'd like to ask some questions to give themselves some more FYI.
Sure.
So at that point, does anybody have any questions they'd like to extrapolate further? Councillor Craig.
Thank you, Scott, for presenting it. What a great thing it will be if it takes place.
Absolutely.
I come from a little place called London, and as you know, they have numerous ice skating rinks there. The ones that have survived, and this is going back into the last century, the ones that have an ice hockey league. So the ice hockey has been the big draw card for the whole thing. So I point that up, and obviously you've had a consideration of that. The other matter I'd like to raise, that I'm involved in the velodrome project that's going on at Cambridge. To get any funding, they have to produce an operational expenditure as well as a capital one.
Yes.
So that will have to be done in the future, won't it? Because you're not going to get any funding without.
We have done some work on that, and certainly there is a much bigger prospectus of the whole thing, if anybody wants a copy, which goes into population dynamics, some basic budgets, operational costs, things like that, and some estimates on construction costs. So there is 45 pages there of more information if you want it. Yeah, absolutely.
Fine. Well done, anyway.
And I would just point out, as far as leagues go, from personal experience, I ran an inline roller hockey club in Auckland for 8 years. My son played ice hockey for New Zealand, and they travel from Hamilton to Auckland to practice for ice hockey. That's how far people travel.
Okay, well, I think as Councillor Craig's question is really answered in that first bullet point, is the 30k funding that you're looking for, which we won't be saying yes or no to here today, is to do that feasibility study, to produce the paperwork that we can make funding applications to central government and have some meat on the bone, for the want of a better word. The only other thing I wanted to ask you, if no other questions now, I believe there's been talk with Contact Energy by using heat exchangers to run this with, so it'd be very cost neutral to run it by keeping the ice cold, etc., by using our geothermal and heat exchangers, I believe. Yeah,
we have a verbal agreement, I guess, to use their waste hot water, which runs down the back of that particular piece of property, and that can be used for the running of the refrigerators that would chill the ice. And in fact, they can be extremely expensive to run, but there is one of the rinks in the South Island does exactly that and has used heat exchange and environmentally friendly methods to actually do it, and it saves a significant amount of money and obviously makes good use of waste hot water.
Councillor Henderson had his hand up.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, Scott, and I look forward to reading the 45 pages. I just got a question. What's the, obviously there'll be some provisional figures in there about the revenue on it. What's the revenue model? Is it aiming to break even? Will there be an operating loss?
The goal of the trust is to not have any loans and to break even. Yes.
In terms of operating.
First in the first 1 to 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
And if it were to be built, it would be run by the trust.
Correct.
Not like we run our event centre and
No.
our AC bar. It's a trust.
It would be run by the trust. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Mincher.
Brilliant, Scott. I've also been in Naseby and had a few whiskies on the curling, so I know what you're talking about. Just, you're talking about leases from the Taupo for the land.
Yes.
Does land ownership make a commitment of funds towards easier funds, or is that just a side issue?
We've certainly discussed that and been down that track, and I think the short answer is no.
It doesn't make a difference. It's more the security of the land is not important, really. It's seed funding.
It's that commitment to actual some contribution. Yeah.
And the other just that thing with Keith with the velodrome as well is I would watch the velodrome closely for the national significance of how things can be, and if that goes a certain way, then you should be putting your hand up.
For sure.
Okay. Councillor Johnson.
This survey is the one that was sent out.
That's right.
So there was no sort of question that possibly some of the funds would come out of rates. So people.
There was no question on there. No, that's right.
Just affirmative because it was a great idea.
It was really to judge whether they were interested in it. Yeah. If they'd said no, I wouldn't be here.
Just a quick question. What do you expect it to generate in terms of revenue in the first, say, 3 years?
Without talking to David Brown, our accountant, I couldn't tell you. But I can certainly pick out something from here or give you a copy of the 47-pager.
Yep, I'll have a read.
All right.
As I understand it from the last presentation from Mr. Brown, it was certainly a positive outcome, not a negative outcome.
Correct. Yes.
Not just in the financials, but the benefit to the district. And to an old man granddad like me could go ice skating with his grandkids.
Absolutely.
So there's a suggested resolution here on page item 2, but just before we get there, is there going to be an opportunity for council to consider sometime in the future? Obviously the next step is 30,000 funding to do feasibility studies. Will that be coming to council at some time in the future where that can be decided on for yay or nay?
Yes.
Thank you. So that bearing that in mind, I won't hold you to a time frame, but ASAP would be good. So I'll move to the suggested resolution. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
I'd say one question. Who will actually own the ice arena?
The trust.
So therefore any council money would have to be a operational grant rather than capital investment?
Not my strength, but I'm certain that there could be details worked out that would be in the best interests of the council as a stakeholder.
Exactly. Okay, so moving forward from there. Sorry? I'm sorry, Councillor.
So, just to clarify things for Scott, so does he have to do the same presentation at the LTP submissions? So can we take it from here that it'll go in?
I don't think we're going to do LTP. We're going to bring an agenda item to the next council meeting.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Thank you. And the second question is
budgeted expenditure.
how many councillors would like the 46-page document that he's got? Okay.
Okay. If you could just leave it with staff when you go and ask them to copy it and put it in the pigeonholes, everyone can have a copy. That's the fairest way. Yep. Councillor Mincher?
Scott, are you working to a time frame that is just open-ended for yourselves, or?
I guess it's been almost 2 years now, so I guess as a trust we're saying if we can't get this money, then there's probably no point going ahead. And I'm not necessarily saying it has to come from you, but, well, I'm asking for it, absolutely, but we would probably give ourselves at the most 6 more months, and if we can't find a funding source for this part of it, then we'll probably abandon the project.
As I understand it, we will bring it as an agenda item to the next council meeting. We'll probably have you come and present again, and we will see what the 30k is going to get us,
sure,
and where that might lead us, and we'll make a decision at that council meeting because it's unbudgeted expenditure.
Certainly.
So we will move forward, and we'll make that decision when that comes up. So I'll move again to the suggested resolution, ask for a mover and a seconder, that the information be received, and Mr. Basin sincerely thanked for his presentation and for the work done so far. Councillor Hickling, seconding Councillor Kirk, all in favour? Aye. Thank you very much. And just to reiterate, we do have a resolution on our books from the last triennium that, I forget the exact amount, but we would we would give a peppercorn rental of that piece of land to the trust to facilitate the building of an ice rink there, particularly viewing in mind that it had massive exposure to the ETA, or some people like